all rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending.
That is the head of the night. Gets it back. Johnson wide open. Another one. That is such a high-level play. This is Jarom. And the foul.
It all comes down to senior night for BYU men's basketball, determining their fate and seeding for the West Coast Conference tournament bracket. Now,
we won't be saying those words next year.
No, it will be.
We'll be like BYU's the 11 seed
in the Big 12 tournament, and they might actually have a shot at being on the bubble as the 11 seed in that conference.
Who knows, man?
No joke.
Yeah.
It's that good.
It just takes a couple of players.
Jarom, what would a win tomorrow versus San Francisco mean for BYU on all of the different levels compared to what a loss would mean for the Cougars?
Let's break it down. And you and Greg did a great job on Wednesday, and Dave and I were talking about it Thursday as well, yesterday. It's been a long week. Win equals 5 seed for BYU tomorrow because BYU wins the tiebreaker. Tie in the head-to-head, tie in the 1 through 10, which is crazy when you go through record versus 1 through 10. It'd go down to net, and at that point, BYU is going to have a higher net. BYU does right now, and they will with a win. A loss equals 6 seed if, and this is provided by Greg on Twitter, appreciate it, didn't have to look it up, if Portland wins at Pacific. Now, Portland beat Pacific at home. Will they win on the road? Pacific is ahead of Portland in the standings currently. If BYU loses and Pacific wins, 7 seed, and for the first and last time, BYU would play on Thursday in a 7-10 game against a Pepperdine team that a few weeks ago took it to BYU. So win tomorrow, you're the 5 seed. And that's really important, and you've brought this up. If you're the 5, you're then on LMU's side of the bracket for the 4 seed in the quarterfinal. I love that matchup. Obviously, BYU pounded them in the last game they played. You have a shot at the semis. You really do. If you can beat San Francisco, and then you have to beat the 8-9 game. What is that going to be? Portland and San Diego. You won both of those individual games. You only played one against those 2 teams. And then you can beat LMU potentially, and you're in the semis. And to me, and this is an early answer to a question we will discuss next week, what is the goal for BYU in this tournament? It's to get to Monday. If BYU can get to Monday, I go, nice job. You got to, 19 wins. And
assuming they beat San Francisco tomorrow.
Yes. Yes. If you don't beat San Francisco and you're on the other side of the bracket, I don't like BYU's chances against potentially Santa Clara in a quarters. Santa Clara's playing great ball. They won 6 in a row. They got there are better players than Pajemski, but not too many. Like, if you didn't have a Gonzaga or a St. Mary's in the league, Pajemski's the player of the year. 2nd in rebounding in the league, 3rd in scoring or something.
Yeah.
2nd in scoring. He's awesome. So the point is to get the 5 seed to get on LMU's side, because that's just the most favorable quarterfinal between Santa Clara and LMU. Obviously, you have to get through teams that maybe you've already lost to, but unless you're playing Portland, San Diego, you beat both those teams.
Now, we understandably are clearly focused on the seeding and what it means for BYU in the postseason tournament, but there are some subtopics in play here that matter a lot. BYU's lost 4 straight games.
Oh, yeah, that.
You want to lose 5 straight going into Vegas? Good night. It just feels like
it might be 6 and you're done.
Yeah. You might be the 7th place team and you're playing Pepperdine coming off of a 5th consecutive loss. Hey, think about that. That's how bad it could potentially be. So there's this subtopic that, they probably need to end the losing streak to try and create something positive going to Vegas. Then it's senior night, and you want Gideon George and Rudy Williams to go out again with something positive in front of their home fans. Not as important as the seeding and BYU's potential matchups in the bracket, but that would certainly help. So some positive subtopics leading to the bigger picture in Vegas all lead to creating some type of momentum before BYU heads south to the Orleans Arena for their final West Coast Conference tournament.
Until they get to the NIT Final Four.
If BYU gets to Monday, then maybe BYU's invited to the NIT.
Perhaps.
Based on their net ranking and the fact that they have some quality wins on their resume. So
they will have won 3 or 4.
And now you're trending in the right direction. We've always talked about, committees love teams that are trending positively and are playing good basketball in March.
And that's enough, right? Because you will have lost 5 of 8 as well.
But you get to 19 wins, and you still have a win against Creighton on your schedule and a win over Utah, and now you have a little bit of momentum. You probably have beaten an LMU team that qualifies as it's another quad 2 victory.
Yeah, and an NIT team probably. Santa Clara, LMU feel like NIT squads right now.
So that, yeah,
Which is, in this league, is good. They don't make the NCAA tournament. NIT is good if you're not named Gonzaga, St. Mary's, BYU.
this is desperation mode. BYU needs to win this game, not just to get the better seeding. They needed to create something positive because it feels like the team, and I can't believe I'm saying it again late in February, is now at the bottom. Like, it's been tough at certain points this season. I feel like this is the lowest that BYU has been.
This is lower than losing
season.
to South Dakota and UVU because BYU potentially could be a 7 seed going into the
Yes, and losing tough games to St. Mary's and Gonzaga in heartbreaking fashion. Yeah, those are lows, but there are moral victories involved right there. There's no
For this team, absolutely.
There are no moral victories in losing 4 straight and potentially losing a 5th straight before the conference postseason tournament. Yeah. They have to win this game if they have any hope of making some type of run to Monday in the West Coast Conference
tournament. And to me,
tournament.
you don't have to get past Monday. It's not realistic to think you get past Monday.
Get to Monday.
It may not even be realistic to think you get to Monday, but certainly this team has shown us they can do that. They can beat up Portland or San Diego in an 8-9 type of game. They can beat LMU. We saw them beat them a couple weeks ago by 28. Granted, BYU in this gym, very different than BYU in other gyms. But if they capture something, you at least salvage some positivity. And if you somehow salvage the NIT, you crept out of the darkness into the light a little bit there. And the unfortunate reality with senior night tomorrow is it'll be the last game for some other guys. The attrition of college basketball is such, there will be a few guys that leave. And given how this season went, Spence, I expect that number to maybe be a little higher than if BYU had been super successful. Also, NIL attracts other guys to different places. BYU will attract good players to this place to replace them. And hopefully it's better than last year's sort of recruiting haul.
Yeah, and there are going to be some guys that want to come play in the Big 12.
Absolutely.
Straight up.
Absolutely. There will be other players from all walks of life that will want to play at BYU because this is a place where anybody can come and play, which is great. And it's been fun to get to know these guys. Next year is going to be a different squad with a different situation. But this team right now, tomorrow night, like you said, huge game, got to win. The season has been tough, but if you're the 5 seed, that's the same as last year. Last year's team was better than this year's team, but you could at least
equal that.
That's also, which feels like something nice.
That's another one of those subtopics.
Given how this season's gone, for you to be the 5, you can look down at the other 5 and be like, we stink, but you stink more. You know what I mean? Like, BYU can rise up in a way these last couple of games and capture something, like football did. 4-game losing streak. Nope, we end the season with some nice wins, some positivity, and go, okay, it wasn't what we wanted. Certainly football, I'm feeling better about how football ended than men's basketball at this point. But if you can make the NIT, even if you go one and done, you're on the road, you lose, whatever, it's like, okay, made the postseason.
That was like getting to a bowl game.
Little run to the semi. Yeah.
A little win streak that takes you into the postseason.
It's not exactly what we wanted, but you got better at the end. Okay, now we move on. We make some changes, and we try and get better next year.
Coach Pope and the staff, and I want Cody Feger and Nick Robinson, Kahil Fennell, and Coach Pope, because I know how much work they put into this with the guys and how many hours, countless hours, they're trying to figure this thing out. And it has been a bumpy ride. I want them to have something positive in the worst way. They need it. The fan base needs it. The program needs it.
Sure.
Beat San Francisco tomorrow and just push forward to the Vegas tournament on a win. A 1-game win streak would feel monumental.
And it's not a streak, but yes. Topic 2. What team on and maybe it's the one we just mentioned. What team on campus needs a win the most tomorrow?
I feel like men's basketball is the most desperate.
Okay, so who else?
But I kind of feel like the women's basketball team, because they have a chance to actually do something in the West Coast Conference, like maybe win it, Jarom.
You think so? Given how good Portland and Gonzaga have been.
Gonzaga's really good. BYU played them, and the one game that BYU played them, the Cougars played them tough. Had a lead with 8 minutes to go in the game in Spokane. We'll see tomorrow.
We've seen this before.
I don't think that it's that surprising if BYU beats Gonzaga tomorrow. Gonzaga has traditionally struggled in Provo on the women's basketball
It's a tough
side.
place to play.
They have not had a ton of success here.
Yeah.
And so it wouldn't be shocking if BYU's women's team beats Gonzaga tomorrow and that they also beat Portland. Portland's down Haley Andrews, their star point guard.
They have for a long time, though, and still been pretty good.
They're not the same team that BYU lost to in Portland with Haley Andrews.
Yeah.
That's my point.
She's been
great.
out well, they've only have 2 losses in the league, basically, without her.
And that's a fair point, but they're coming to Provo. It would not shock
Are they?
me.
Do we know that they got out of Portland?
On Monday.
It's been rescheduled.
Well, they're in San Diego now. I know that.
Right.
They're in, so they're coming from San Diego to
they're going to get out of San Diego, but not after 10 p.m. Noise ordinance.
I feel like the women's basketball team could benefit a ton for placement, like being the 3 seed instead of the 4 seed, because Gonzaga's great on the women's side in Vegas. Portland's had some issues in Vegas. So I like the matchup better with Portland on the 3-2 line on Monday for BYU to get to the championship game. And so, there are a lot of things at play. BYU men's basketball is the most desperate, but I feel like the women's basketball team could super benefit from a win tomorrow.
Men's hoops needs to win the most to be the 5, right? Women's hoops could certainly benefit. Baseball feels like they need to win too after a 10-1 opener in Ruston against Louisiana Tech.
They started 2-0.
They've struggled the last 4. They got blown out 11-0 last night. That feels important. Men's volleyball obviously need a win. They're going to get 2 wins against Concordia. Not worried about them. It's next week at Grand Canyon.
Women's gymnastics had a rough week, and they're on the bubble.
They need to be 196 tonight.
Yeah,
they gotta go.
There's some pressure there.
Go
they need to score well. So
194 last week, not good enough.
They can climb off the bubble and kind of secure their spot in regionals. So there's a lot.
Yeah, they always make regionals. It's what they do. They got to get. It's what they do. They got to get to that point.
Get out of the play-in scenario in regionals. You don't want to be one of the bottom 4 teams because
no one breaks down gymnastics play in regionals like BYU Sports.
Come on,
forget it.
Yeah.